Imagine marching into enemy territory expecting glory on the battlefield, only to find a wasteland so empty, so lifeless, that even the wind carries the scent of fear. In the spring of 1462, Mehmed II, Sultan of the Ottoman Empire and the conqueror of Constantinople, led his mighty forces into Wallachia to destroy one man, Vlad III, voivode of Wallachia, known to history as Vlad Țepeș or Vlad the Impaler. But instead of a defending army, Mehmed found a land that had been deliberately destroyed by its own ruler. Chapter 1. The Scorched Earth of Wallachia. Vlad knew the odds. His forces were a fraction of Mehmed's estimated 90,000 troops. In open battle, defeat was certain. But if he could not outnumber the Ottomans, he would outthink them. Following accounts from Byzantine chronicler Leonikos Chalkokondyles, Vlad ordered the systematic destruction of anything the Ottomans could use: fields burned, granaries emptied, homes set ablaze. Wells were poisoned with rotting carcasses, livestock slaughtered or driven into the mountains, entire villages evacuated or wiped from existence. In a letter to Matthias Corvinus of Hungary, Vlad described his strategy with chilling pride. "I have killed peasants, men and women, old and young. We have burned down everything." This was no act of desperation. It was a calculated weapon. The effect was immediate. Ottoman troops, unfamiliar with the terrain and already strained by disease, found themselves in a hostile, empty land. Starvation took its toll, morale collapsed, and desertion began, not from the sword, but from hunger, exhaustion, and despair. Chapter 2. The Forest of the Impaled. As Mehmed's army advanced deeper into Wallachia, they encountered something far worse than an empty land. Approaching the capital, Târgoviște, they were met by an unholy spectacle, a forest of death. Thousands of bodies impaled on sharpened wooden stakes, arranged in precise formations that stretched for miles. Venetian envoys, Saxon chroniclers, and Ottoman historian Tursun Bey all recorded the sight. The victims included captured Ottoman soldiers, scouts, and even envoys. One infamous account tells of high-ranking messengers who refused to remove their turbans before Vlad out of religious respect. According to Saxon sources, Vlad replied, "Then let them be nailed to their heads in respect of their customs." Their impaled bodies became part of the grim display. Roads leading to the city were lined with more stakes, some fresh, others long weathered. Even Mehmed's hardened warriors were shaken. Tursun Bey wrote that the Sultan himself paused in visible shock at the sight. Chapter 3. Impalement, Vlad's signature weapon. Impalement was not new. It had been used in many parts of the medieval world, including within the Ottoman Empire itself. But Vlad elevated it into a weapon of psychological warfare. A sharpened stake was driven through the victim's lower body and angled to prolong death, which could take hours or even days. The stake was often smoothed and greased to avoid killing too quickly. Victims were placed alive and left to die in agony, their bodies swaying in the wind like grim warnings. Chroniclers like Antonio Bonfini described Vlad's precision. Heights varied, patterns were deliberate, and the formations could be seen from miles away. The most infamous of these occurred in 1462, when an estimated 20,000 impaled captives, Ottoman prisoners and Wallachian traders alike, were displayed outside Târgoviște in perfect symmetry. Tursun Bey confirmed the psychological effect. Mehmed reportedly remarked that no one could defeat a ruler who would treat both his enemies and his own subjects with such merciless discipline. Chapter 4. Living Warnings. Vlad's cruelty did not always end with death. Some prisoners were released after being permanently mutilated. According to Slavic sources, Ottoman captives were returned to their army with eyes gouged out, noses and ears cut off, or branded with hot irons. Some bore carved symbols in their skin, their bodies turned into living proclamations of Vlad's defiance. These were not acts of mercy. They were walking messages, proof that crossing into Wallachia meant leaving whole pieces of yourself behind. The Sultan's army now carried its own nightmares back to camp. Chapter 5. A calculated insult to the Sultan Mehmed II. This was not just brutality, it was personal. The conqueror of Constantinople, a man feared across Europe and Asia, was being mocked by a ruler with a fraction of his power. Returning maimed soldiers to their commander was an insult to his honor, his religion, and his empire. It was a public statement that even the mighty Ottomans could be humiliated, their warriors sent home as broken shells of the soldiers they once were. Vlad knew that this kind of insult cut deeper than a sword. It attacked the very pride of the Sultan's court and undermined his authority among his own men. By using survivors as living proof of his defiance, Vlad wasn't just sending a warning, he was planting seeds of fear and doubt inside the Ottoman camp, a poison that no physician could cure. Chapter 6. The Campaign's Legacy. By the end of the 1462 campaign, the Ottomans had suffered devastating losses without a decisive battle ever taking place. Vlad had fought the Sultan not with sheer numbers but with starvation, disease, psychological terror, and relentless humiliation. His tactics reshaped the rules of warfare in the Balkans. He proved that a smaller, outnumbered force could paralyze a vastly superior army if it attacked the mind as fiercely as the body. The scorched earth starved them. The forest of impalements crushed their morale, and the mutilated survivors carried the terror back with them. Even centuries later, the legend of Vlad the Impaler is remembered less for his victories and more for his methods, brutal, cunning, and impossible to forget. He turned cruelty into strategy, fear into a political weapon, and humiliation into a shield for his homeland. To some, he was a hero defending his people from a vast empire. To others, he was a monster who relished suffering. But one truth is undeniable. His name still echoes through history as the man who made even the conqueror of Constantinople hesitate. Conclusion: the Sultan's worst nightmare? Vlad Țepeș did not simply defend Wallachia. He weaponized the land, the people, and even the bodies of his enemies to wage a war unlike anything the Ottoman Empire had faced. By burning his own villages, poisoning wells, and stripping the countryside bare, he starved Mehmed's vast army before they could even raise a sword. By lining roads with forests of impaled corpses, he shattered the invaders' morale and turned fear into his most potent weapon. And by sending mutilated survivors back to the Sultan, he delivered a message that could not be ignored. Wallachia would not bow. To this day, historians debate whether Vlad's savagery was born from necessity, vengeance, or pure malice. But one thing is certain: his methods carved his name into history, not just as Vlad the Impaler,